All right, so with your portrait, once you have your portrait selected, now it's time to do any cropping and editing we need to do before we print it out. So you'll pull your image in or drop it into the Google Doc. I have two different self-portraits here that one of my students actually took, and they kind of have opposite needs. I'm going to show you how to edit them both quickly, and then you can choose how to edit yours. So the editing basic directions are over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is crop my picture. I don't need to draw my whole sweatshirt. I'm going to make my face larger on the paper. So if I double click on the image, those blue corners turn into little black corners that are added onto it. That allows me to bring the image up. I can bring it in. Maybe I'll even get rid of a little bit of the negative space on this side. And then I'll hit enter or return on my keyboard. I also might click this wrap text button. It'll allow me to then move the image around on the piece of paper. So I can start up here and just grab the corner and stretch out as big as you can make it. And it's okay if you have more space on one or both sides or more space on the top. It does not have to be the same exact proportions as the piece of paper. If I don't like the way it looks, I can do my cropping on there. So now I have this negative space all on the left, so I have kind of an asymmetrical composition, and my hair is just slightly cropped off on the right, and that's perfectly fine. On this other image, I have way too much negative space. It's a horizontal picture on a vertical piece of paper, and there's nothing to draw over here. So again, double click, bring in the sides, hit enter or return, come down here, click wrap text, grab the corner. Do not grab one of the middle boxes because you will have a very stretched out face if you do that. Make sure that when you enlarge it, you grab the corner. There we go. And make it as big as you can. Again, don't worry if you have more space at the top or the bottom versus the sides. Just try to fill up that paper as best you can. So that was the first step and the second step. Next, we're going to make it grayscale, and we're going to adjust the brightness and the contrast. These two pictures are really different, so they kind of have opposite needs. This one has high contrast, and maybe I want to tone it down a little bit. This one is really bright and almost washed out, so I might want to up the contrast a little. So decide what your picture needs. So on here, if I click, so I have the little blue corners, image options. I'm going to make it grayscale, so I start down here and I go back 1, 2, 3. So now that's grayscale under recoloring, this option. And then for adjustments, I might need to lower my brightness, make it a little less bright. But now I don't have highlights and shadows, so I'm going to up the contrast. So now I have bright whites, you can see on my nose and my eyes. I have grayscale on the skin, and then I have dark shadows around here on my mouth and on the side of my cheek. So now I have that full range of values. On this one, image options, 1, 2, 3, grayscale. I might want to lower the contrast a little bit and maybe up the brightness. Now again, I have highlights, shadows. Keep in mind, this is about when we print it. We want to have full highlights and shadows and the grayscale in between. And if your image is dark on here, it usually seems to print looking even darker. So I know I don't, particularly want to draw this strong shine on my forehead. But I do want to make sure that I have highlights, gray tones, and shadows. Maybe I'll even crop it a tiny bit more. Make it bigger. There we go. And mark it as done.